Most men miss the quiet signals. But once you see these 5 hidden signs, you'll never look at a woman's body language the same way again. This will open your eyes to how female desire truly works beneath the surface. Don't blink, every second counts. Comment where you're watching from and hit subscribe. More life-changing truths every week. When it comes to understanding attraction, most men look for what's obvious. The flirtatious words, the compliments, the overt physical touch. But what truly reveals a woman's secret arousal isn't loud, it's subtle. It's hidden in the quiet moments, in the way her body betrays the calmness her words try to project. Because while a woman can control what she says, her body reacts before her mind has time to intervene. That's the fascinating thing about human psychology. The body always speaks first, and it never lies. When a woman is secretly aroused, there's a shift in her energy. You may notice her pupils dilate just slightly when she looks at you. That's not random, it's biology. When the brain perceives attraction, the body responds by allowing more light in through the eyes, heightening sensory awareness. You might also see her lips part unconsciously while she's listening to you, or a soft smile play at the corners of her mouth, even when nothing particularly funny has been said. These are involuntary cues of heightened attention and desire. She may touch her neck, adjust her hair, or subtly expose her wrists or collarbone, not as a deliberate act of seduction, but as an instinctive way of signaling openness. The body language becomes fluid, less guarded. You'll notice her posture softens. She leans in, mirroring your movement, aligning her body with yours without even realizing it. This alignment is not just physical, it's psychological. It's her subconscious saying, I feel safe here. I want to be closer. Most men miss these micro expressions because they're too focused on the verbal conversation. But attraction doesn't start with words. It starts in the body, in the primitive instinctual part of the brain known as the limbic system. This is where desire, emotion, and instinct all intersect. When a woman feels that spark, her nervous system reacts faster than logic. Her breathing may deepen, her voice may lower ever so slightly, and her eyes may linger longer than usual. It's her biology revealing what her social conditioning tells her to hide. See, women are trained from a young age to control their visible reactions. Society teaches them to appear composed, to avoid giving away too much, to remain mysterious. So when a woman is secretly aroused, she'll often try to maintain that sense of control. She might cross her legs or fold her arms to steady herself, not to create distance, but to contain what she's feeling. That tension between suppression and expression is one of the clearest signs of real desire. It's not always in the invitation, sometimes it's in the restraint. There's also the matter of tone. When she's secretly attracted, her speech rhythm may slow down. Her words become softer, more intentional. She'll laugh more freely, even at simple things, because laughter is the body's way of releasing emotional energy. Pay attention to the silences between sentences, the brief pauses, the unspoken glances. They often carry more meaning than anything she could verbalize. Desire often hides in those pauses. What's important here is not to read these signs with arrogance or assumption. It's not about manipulation or control. It's about awareness. Understanding these reactions allows you to connect more deeply and respectfully with what's truly happening beneath the surface. The real power lies not in making her feel something, but in recognizing what she already feels and responding with emotional intelligence. That's what separates confident men from desperate ones. Confidence isn't about chasing, it's about noticing. Now, this doesn't mean every gesture or glance is a guaranteed sign of arousal. Context matters. A woman might fidget or lean closer simply because she's comfortable, not because she's turned on. The key is pattern recognition, several cues aligning over time. A single moment may mean nothing, but a consistent energy shift, a recurring set of behaviors, that's where truth lies. The body doesn't sustain a reaction without reason. Think of it as tuning into a frequency most people ignore. It's not about reading minds, it's about reading energy. And when you become attuned to that, you stop chasing validation and start observing reality. You stop asking, does she like me? And instead begin to sense the subtle rhythm of human connection. That awareness changes everything: how you carry yourself, how you speak, and how you interpret silence. The beauty of attraction is that it's not logical, it's instinctual. You can't force it and you can't fake it. It reveals itself when presence meets awareness. So when you're around a woman and you sense these signals, the shift in body language, The spark in her eyes, the nervous laughter. Don't rush to react. Simply hold your composure. The moment you mirror her calm confidence, her subconscious reads safety. And safety, for a woman, is the foundation of desire. Remember this: her body speaks before her heart admits, and before her mind allows it to surface. The man who can see what's unspoken doesn't need to impress. He understands. And that understanding makes him magnetic without effort. So, the next time you're in a moment that feels charged but uncertain, pause, observe, listen to what's not being said. Because beneath the surface of every conversation lies a world of emotion waiting to be recognized. And once you learn to read that language, attraction stops being a mystery. It becomes a mirror of awareness. The truth is simple: when you learn to see beyond words, you stop guessing how she feels. You start knowing. Most people assume that desire begins in the body. A look, a touch, a spark of chemistry. But for women, desire often begins in a much quieter place, the mind. Before there's any physical attraction, there's emotional energy, curiosity, and a sense of connection that starts to awaken something deeper. You see, female arousal is rarely about what she sees. It's about what she feels. The body only reacts once the mind feels safe, intrigued, or emotionally charged. That's why so many men who focus purely on appearance or status miss the point entirely. They're chasing the visible when the real game happens in the invisible. In emotion, trust, and psychological connection. When a woman is drawn to a man, it often begins with a sense of energy exchange. Maybe it's the way he speaks, the calmness in his tone, or the steadiness in his eyes. There's a certain balance that captures her attention: strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance. Her emotional radar is incredibly sensitive, and she picks up on this long before her conscious mind processes it. In her psychology, attraction isn't just about who looks good, it's about who feels right. The man who understands this doesn't chase excitement, he creates emotional depth. And that depth is what stirs desire in ways that surface-level charm never can. Women experience desire through emotional safety, not pressure. The more she feels seen and understood, the more her guard drops. That's when curiosity begins to turn into fascination. She starts sharing more, her opinions, her memories, her vulnerabilities, not because she has to, but because she wants to. That openness is her subconscious saying, I trust you enough to let you in. And it's that very feeling of being emotionally secure that awakens her physical response. The brain and body are in constant dialogue, and when her emotions are stimulated positively, her body begins to mirror that energy. But here's what's often misunderstood. Emotional connection doesn't mean being overly emotional or trying too hard to please her. In fact, that can have the opposite effect. What she's really drawn to is a man who is emotionally grounded, someone who can listen without judgment, respond without fear, and stand in his truth without needing validation. That steadiness creates polarity. It allows her to relax into her feminine energy, to stop analyzing and simply feel. The moment she can do that, her body follows naturally. You can't force attraction, but you can invite it by creating the emotional conditions where it thrives. The fascinating part of all this is how subtle it can be. Sometimes the spark begins in a conversation that feels completely innocent, a deep exchange about purpose, values, or dreams, a shared moment of laughter that feels effortless. These micro moments of connection build emotional tension, not the kind that demands something physical, but the kind that makes her want to be around you more. She finds herself thinking about you, replaying words, remembering the tone of your voice. This is what psychologists call the anticipation phase, when the imagination becomes the stage for desire to grow. For women, imagination is a powerful force. It bridges emotion with sensuality, creating an experience that's both mental and physical long before anything actually happens. And yet, many men rush this process. They try to skip the emotional build-up and go straight for the physical. But the truth is, the more you rush, the more resistance you create. The female psyche doesn't respond to force, it responds to rhythm, the rhythm of patience, curiosity, and genuine presence. When a woman senses you're not trying to get something from her, but are simply enjoying the interaction itself, that's when her emotional energy begins to shift. That's when attraction becomes mutual rather than one-sided. There's a certain art to knowing how to pace emotional connection. It's not about playing games, but about being in tune. You notice when she starts leaning in emotionally, when her laughter becomes easier, when her tone softens. You give space instead of pressure, presence instead of persuasion. Every moment becomes a conversation between energies rather than egos. And it's in that delicate dance that true arousal takes root, slowly, quietly, powerfully. Philosophically speaking, this is where desire transforms from impulse into connection. When she feels emotionally drawn to you, she's not just reacting to what you look like or what you do, she's responding to who you are being. That's why authentic confidence is so magnetic. It's the calm self-assurance that says, I don't need your approval, but I value your presence. It allows her to be vulnerable without fear of judgment. And that emotional freedom is the ultimate aphrodisiac. So, if you want to understand female desire, stop asking what turns her on and start asking what makes her feel alive. What makes her feel seen, safe, and inspired in your presence. Because when she feels those emotions, desire becomes effortless. It's not something you have to chase or manipulate. It's something that unfolds naturally, almost inevitably. Remember, a woman's arousal is not just a reaction to physical attraction, it's a reflection of emotional energy. When she feels emotionally connected, desire stops being something she controls. It becomes something she experiences. That's the secret that most men never learn. That real attraction doesn't start in her body. It starts in her soul. And once you understand that truth, you'll realize that creating desire isn't about trying harder. It's about being present, being grounded, and allowing connection to do the work. Because when emotion leads, the body always follows. In the end, it's simple. When you learn to move her heart, her desire will follow naturally, and no words will ever be needed to prove it. One of the most fascinating and least understood shifts that happens when a woman becomes secretly aroused is the way her boundaries begin to change quietly, subtly, but unmistakably. These aren't the boundaries she announces with words. They're the invisible emotional and physical lines that define how close someone is allowed to get. And when desire enters the equation, those lines start to blur in ways even she might not fully recognize. You see, female arousal is as much psychological as it is physical. It's not simply about lust, it's about comfort, safety, and emotional permission. A woman doesn't just decide to desire someone, she allows it. And that allowance is where the magic happens. When she begins to feel drawn to you, her energy shifts from cautious to open, from guarded to receptive. Her body and her behavior start to communicate something different, something softer, even if her words stay neutral. Maybe you've noticed it before. The way a woman who once kept her distance now lets you stand a little closer. The way she maintains eye contact longer, or how her laughter comes easier, her guard lower. She might not say she's attracted, but her actions start to contradict her restraint. This shift isn't random, it's instinctive. It's the moment when curiosity turns into trust, and trust quietly evolves into desire. The change is not loud or obvious, it's quiet, almost imperceptible, like the first breeze before a storm. At the heart of this change lies one fundamental truth: women need to feel safe before they can feel aroused. That sense of safety doesn't come from grand gestures or empty charm. It comes from emotional consistency. When a man is calm, composed, and authentic, he creates a psychological space where a woman feels seen without being pressured. And in that space, her natural boundaries begin to relax. She lets her emotional walls down, not because she has to, but because she wants to. There's a fascinating psychology behind this. A woman's nervous system responds directly to her emotional environment. When she senses calmness and confidence, her body literally shifts out of a defensive state. Her breathing becomes slower, her muscles relax, her energy softens. It's her way of saying, I feel safe here. And when a woman feels safe, attraction can finally reveal itself. This is the foundation of genuine connection, the invisible transition from resistance to receptivity. Now, here's where many men get it wrong. They misinterpret this openness as an invitation to push further, to escalate quickly, to seal the deal. But that's not what this moment is about. The softening of her boundaries isn't permission, it's trust. It's the emotional equivalent of her letting you into her personal space, her mental world. If you move too fast, you break that trust. If you meet it with patience and presence, you deepen it. And that's when attraction transforms into something real, not a fleeting spark, but a connection that lingers long after the moment passes. Think of it this way: the shift in boundaries is not about proximity, it's about alignment. When she starts mirroring your tone, matching your body language, or maintaining physical closeness longer than before, she's signaling comfort. She's synchronizing her emotional rhythm with yours. This alignment is one of the purest signs of hidden desire. It's her subconscious saying, I trust your energy enough to match it. And once that energetic match happens, chemistry becomes almost inevitable. What's also fascinating is how she tests this new dynamic. A woman might pull away slightly, only to re-engage moments later. She might tease, challenge, or question you, not to reject you, but to feel the stability of your presence. She's checking to see if your composure is real or an act. Because once a woman starts opening up emotionally, she wants to know she's doing so with someone who won't misuse her vulnerability. It's her instinctive way of protecting herself even as she lets you in. This is where emotional intelligence becomes essential. If you can remain calm, authentic, and observant in those moments, you communicate something powerful, that you're grounded. And grounded men are rare. They don't chase, they attract. They don't force, they invite. That energy is magnetic because it signals to a woman's subconscious that she's safe to express herself fully, emotionally, mentally, and yes, physically. When she begins to shift her boundaries around you, she's not losing control. She's simply responding to an emotional environment that makes her feel alive. The irony is that many women can't explain this shift logically. They'll say things like, "I don't know why, but I feel different around him." That different is exactly what you're sensing when her behavior changes, when she allows closeness, when her tone softens, when her presence feels more open. It's not something she plans, it's something she feels. Philosophically, this moment represents one of the purest expressions of trust between two people. It's when the invisible barriers of fear and self-protection give way to connection. It's when the human instinct to guard one's heart surrenders, even if just for a moment, to the possibility of being understood. That's what true desire looks like. Not performance, not seduction, but surrender. And this is where the deeper lesson lies. For every man listening, attraction isn't something you create through tactics or words. It's something you earn through presence, patience, and authenticity. When a woman's boundaries shift around you, it's a reflection of the emotional space you've built. One where she feels seen, not judged, desired, not objectified, free, not pressured. So the next time you sense that change, that quiet comfort, that soft openness, don't rush it, don't overanalyze it. Respect it, appreciate it. Because in that moment, she's revealing something rare and deeply human, her willingness to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability is the truest form of connection you'll ever experience. Remember this: when a woman starts lowering her walls, it's not a signal to take. It's an invitation to honor what's unfolding. Because the man who knows how to protect a woman's openness is the one she'll never forget.